because when you're not wearing a four-cornered garment, there's no obligation of wearing tzitzit, right? The obligation of tzitzit is, if you, in those days, it was very common that the regular clothing, the fashion back then, was to wear four-cornered garments, right? The normal garment that they would wear, the average person would wear, was very common to be a four-cornered garment. So if you wear a four-cornered garment, good morning Asaf, good morning Simon, good morning Nathan again. If you wear a four-cornered garment and you don't have tzitzit on that four-cornered garment, then you're violating the Torah commandment. Because the Torah says, "Al kanfei tzitzit hakanav." You have to go ahead if you have you have to put tzitzit on the corner on kanfei b'deihem, on the corners of your garment. So the Gemara says we're now on Lamed Beis 32b, 32b2. So the Gemara says the following. On the bottom of 32b2, on the third paragraph to the bottom. One says that a person's children might be punished if the father doesn't keep the mitzvah of tzitzit, and one says because of the mitzvah of mezuzah, by not keeping the mitzvah of mezuzah. And obviously, if there's punishment for not keeping the mitzvah for the children, you can just imagine the reward that children will benefit from their father keeping those mitzvot. As we saw, that we said when it talks about mezuzah, it says "Laman yibu yimechem v'imei v'nechem," right? You go ahead and you keep the mitzvah tzitzit of mezuzah. There's going to be longevity. It's promised not just to you, but also to your children. So the Gemara says, according to the one that says that it's because of the sin of mezuzah. So we know Kidamaran, we have a pasuk, we have a source that says that for not keeping them, because there's the inference. Because it says if you will keep you write it on the mezuzot betecha, you write the mezuzah, and it says Laman yirbu yemechem, you'll live long and your children will live long. Inference is if you don't write a mezuzah, and that won't happen. There won't be that chashon. There'll be the opposite. There won't be that longevity. Bishlama mezuzah diksiv uksavtam al mezuzot beitecha. You write on your mezuzot uktiv basrei, and it says right afterwards Laman yirbu yemechem mevinechem. That will bring longevity. Good morning, Asaf. El Laman di Yom Bavon Tzitzit. But the one who says because of the avon of tzitzit, because of the sin of tzitzit, my timer, where is the source that by not keeping the mitzvah of tzitzit, that'll have such an effect on one's children, such a negative effect? So the Gemara says, Moni Rani. So the Gemara says, Amar Rav Kahana, v'itema Rav Shila Bamari, v'itema Rav Shila Mari. Rav Kahana said, and some say it was Shila Mari. The Ksiv, there's a pasuk that says the following in Yirmiyah. There's a pasuk that the simple meaning of the pasuk is that Hashem has found the people guilty of killing innocent people. That's one of the morning. Welcome back. One of the sins that the Beit HaMikdash was destroyed was shlichat damim. Right, one of the things that there was too much murder. It's hard to imagine such a thing among the Jewish community, but there was a problem. We know, everyone knows there was avodah zarah, there was the idol worship in the first Beit HaMikdash. At the end, there was gilui arayot, there was immoralities that were going on, but there was also shlichat damim. There was also murder, and that seems to be the simple meaning of the following pasuk that the Gemara is going to say, but the Gemara is going to say the following. It says, if the pasuk says, "Gam d'knafayich," it says, "Gam b'knafayich," by your corners, which the Gemara is saying because of the corners of your garments that you did not put in tzitzit, nimsu'u, as a result of that. Nimsu'u dam nafshot evyonim nikiyim. The blood of innocent people, meaning children, were taken away because of the knafayach.
Yes.
because
Good
of
morning. How are you?
not going ahead and
Good.
keeping
What's
the
going on?
mitzvah of tzitzit. Because we know that tzitzit is connected al kansei bigdehem.
Oh, have a wonderful day.
You too.
But the
Thank
Gemara
you very much
continues.
for everything.
My pleasure, sir. I'll see you tonight.
Yes.
Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak says, so again, so here it's alluded to in the pasuk, that the pasuk is alluding to this now again, the simple meaning, like we said, is nimsu dam nafshos avyon nekiyim. You have blood. Some people have blood on their hands, but because of murder. But here the Gemara is saying it's alluding also by the Navi using this term of kinefayech, which is alluded to in the Torah. That word is connected with tzitzit. The corners. It's because of the corners the people did not put in tzitzit. There was such a great punishment. Now, obviously, you can ask the question: why would that be such a punishment for people not wearing tzitzit? Again, like we said, it's not talking about our days, because our days, our garments don't have four corners. So if a person does not wear tzitzit nowadays, right? Doesn't wear tzitzit nowadays, he's not violating the Torah law, right? If a person today, if you find another Jew who's not wearing tzitzit, is he violating Torah law? The answer is no. Why is he not violating Torah law? Because the Torah law is if you're wearing a four-corner garment, you have to put tzitzit. I'm not wearing a this is not a four-corner garment. My jacket's not a four-corner garment. My shirt is not a four-corner garment. So I'm not violating the mitzvah of tzitzit. But I go right. So if you look at your talit. Something if you look at talit katan, here I go ahead and I my general clothing does not have four corners. But if I go ahead, I go to a Judaica store and I bring myself into the mitzvah, right? I go ahead. No. In those days, the 400 garments. Let's say assignment. If you cut the garment, if you cut this side over here, and then you'll see there'll be, and you'll make it into a way there'll be four corners, just like it's the same way how you. No, so maybe right. So maybe the clothes that they wore, maybe they wore something like an undershirt around them, right? And then on top of the undershirt, we're like a talit. We wear a talit. So it could right. It could be the coat might have been a full garment, the jacket might be, or the wrapping, like a talit. A talit is a four-corner garment. So imagine, they wrap themselves in a talit.
Yeah, but
They think it's your fault.
What was the garment that had four corners?
Say it again.
Yeah. What was the garment?
Right. So I would say that it was very common to wear, let's say, a talit. Maybe the same way a talit might have been a common thing to wear, like the way we wear a talit. They wear a talit. You wrap yourself in it. And maybe that was the type of thing that they wore. Maybe, and they also were very big, maybe into belts. Maybe they had belts around it to keep it into place. So that was the style of their clothing. But nowadays, we're not our clothing is not a four-cornered garment. So there's no biblical obligation to put on tzitzit in our clothing because we're not wearing a four-corner garment. However, what we do is we bring ourselves into the mitzvah of tzitzit. We go ahead and it's a very big deal. It's to go ahead and to do the mitzvah. You have an easy way to do the mitzvah by going in and buying yourself a four-cornered garment. So that's what we do. We bring ourselves into the mitzvah, and it's an amazing. It's in the Shulchan Aruch in Siman Chof Daled. Let's read from the Shulchan Aruch what it says. If you're not wearing a garment to Siman Chof Daled that has four corners, you're not obligated to tzitzit. Good morning. Welcome back, Ralph. Ralph, welcome back.
Morning.
Great to see you.
To get on.
Great to see you. So if you're not wearing a four-corner garment, you're not obligated to tzitzit, right? Ezra, you hear me? V'tov v'nachon. What does Shulchan Aruch say? This Moron Mechaber Rabbi Yosef Kairo. The Sephardi rabbi in Shulchan Aruch, right, Amy? V'tov v'nachon, it is good and appropriate liot kol adam. Zahir, every person should be careful, as I'm reading to you from the Shulchan Aruch. Every person should be careful, lubosh, talit katan, kol hayom. That he should wear a talit katan the whole day. It's very appropriate. It's very good for every person to wear a talit katan that we wear the whole day. Kidei sheyizkar mitzvah b'chol rega. You'll be able to remember the mitzvot every time. Because you look at the tzitzit. Why are you wearing tzitzit? Read them also. You see it. You remember all the mitzvot? Tzitzit. Rashi says tzitzit equals 600. And the tzaddik and the yud and the tzaddik and the yud and the tuf is 600. And 8 strings of 5 knots is 613. You remember all the mitzvot? And therefore, and the Shulchan Aruch says there's 5 knots on the tzitzit, right? I just told you the more famous idea that the 5 knots, 8 strings, and the word tzitzit, the numerical value of tzitzit. Good morning, Steve. Is 600. The 5 knots, the 8 strings, 613. But you know what the Shulchan Aruch says? The 5 knots represent the Chamisha Chumshei Torah. When you see the 5 knots, how do you like that, Simon? You remember the 5 books of Moshe. And the 4 corners is wherever you turn, you're going to remember. And then the Shulchan Aruch says, at least you should be careful to wear tzitzit during the time of tefillah. So what he says is, if a person is not, he says, it's good, it's appropriate to wear tzitzit the whole day. Now, when Rabbi Yosef Cairo says it's good and appropriate, that's a great recommendation, right? Rabbi Yosef Cairo, the Moron HaMachab of Shulchan Aruch says what? It is good and appropriate for every person to be careful to wear a talit katan the whole day. But he says, after he says that, he says, but at least you should be careful to wear the tzitzit when you pray. That you should have tzitzit, you should wear tzitzit during tefillah, which most probably means a talit, that we wear a talit. So, but obviously, if you have the ability to wear a talit katan the whole day, it's very good, it's very appropriate. So if he says it's appropriate, I think we should do what is good and appropriate. Well, because the Torah says aritem oto. Because the Torah says the Torah says you see the tzitzit, meaning, so there are opinions, right? But there are opinions. I think Steve, there are opinions that say the question is at night, is there a mitzvah tzit? Meaning the Torah says you have to see the tzit, see it. So some say during nighttime there is no mitzvah tzitzit at all. Others say if you have a day garment that you wear by day, let's say you have a 4-corner garment, this is your day garment, your day clothing, if you're wearing that at night, you have to have tzitzit on it. So when the night comes, I don't take off my talit katan. Why don't I take off my talit when it comes dark? Now it comes dark very early. Because since according to the Rambam, you can just take it off. There's no mitzvah. According to the Rush, since it's a day garment, I wear it by day, so I actually get a mitzvah by actually continuing wearing it at night. Because a day garment that you wear at night, you have a mitzvah of tzitzit. So that's why I don't take off my tzitzit. Now, if there are people that are just starting to wear a talit katan the whole day, so I will tell them if they want it, if they find it easier for them to take it off when it comes night, let them take it off when it comes night, because at least they wore it during the day. Sometimes if you ask too much of somebody, they don't do anything, right? But if you tell them, okay, just wear it by the day, take it off at night, at least we got them during the day. Mars, that makes some sense? And one day they want to take it off immediately at night, just to fulfill the other opinion. That's what I would say. Now, yes,
Rosh goes there,
correct.
okay? The Rosh is the one who wears that. You should use it at night.
Right, right.
Now,
The Rambam is Fardi and
you see the tzitzit on the yom, זה המצווה. זה אומר שבלילה לא יהיה מצווה לזה לפי האשכנזים.
Oh, very good. But the Shulchan Aruch himself, what I recall is that Morona Machabit does not take a position. He brings both opinions regarding this argument. If nighttime, if you have a day garment at night, is there an obligation of tzitzit? But I recall he brings two opinions. He doesn't take a position. He's not following the Rambam's opinion only. He says,
For Friday, there's every four garment is like, it's from the right, 7 Khalif. What kind of garment you should use tonight, and you fulfill that other opinion. If that opinion is Ashkenazi, so it's like, it's kind of you're not fulfilled because you're Sfaradi, you're not fulfilling any of it.
we'll talk about it. But the Shulchan Aruch himself says, he brings both opinions. First, he says, night is not the time of tzitzit. And then he brings the Rush that said that's the Rambam, and the Rush says that a garment that you wear by day or use by day and night is obligated in tzitzit, even if you wear it at night. Okay. Now the Gemara continues. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak says, he says, I have another source for the person who says that as a result of mezuzah, not being careful with mezuzah, that that there will be such a punishment to the children. Now, mezuzah represents, in a certain sense, a declaration of faith. What is mezuzah? Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, talks about the oneness of Hashem. It talks about reward and punishment. So, such a mitzvah, that a person, a Jewish home that doesn't have a mezuzah, we see it's such a big deal based on our Gemara. Every mitzvah is a big deal, but that they should have such ramifications for the children. So maybe that can encourage us, if we know someone, another fellow Jew, that does not have a mezuzah on their door, we should try to do what we can to encourage that person to have a mezuzah. One way you can encourage that person to have a mezuzah is to buy him a mezuzah if you want. Sometimes, by buying him the mezuzah, okay, now you got a mezuzah. But he really needs a mezuzah not only in the front door, but that's, you can at least start with that. But that's a big deal. Now, Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, and again, like another point that we said earlier, from the punishment, you can just imagine the reward for doing the mitzvah. If the punishment is so severe, the reward is always so much greater than the punishment, right? So now, we find like 500 to 1. Right? When it comes to Chesed, Hashem says, you keep the mitzvot, I'll do Chesed la'alafim for thousands of generations. For people do mitzvot, keep the mitzvot, and the people who don't keep mitzvot, it says there's a punishment for 4 generations if those generations continue in the bad ways of the ancestors. But 4 to 2,000 is 500. It's at least 500 to 1, because la'alafim, the minimum is 2,000 generations. So the Gemara says, Tiksiv, we have another pasuk that says, Lo b'machteret masatim. I did not find lo machteret masatim. That means it wasn't like a cave. The houses. This is how the Gemara is darshaning the pasuk. It says that I did not find them complete in my mitzvot. The pasuk says. It says because their entranceways of the houses are missing mezuzot. They're missing mezuzot as if it's a cave. A cave doesn't have the doorposts. It doesn't have, as if it's not as if it's like something that doesn't have proper doorposts, and therefore their punishment is that he keti et benehem. Therefore, as a result of that, the children were punished. The simple meaning of the pasuk was, the pasuk was talking about the people who murdered people. Now you have a right to murder someone if somebody is coming in to stealing in the middle of the night. If someone's stealing, the Torah says if he's coming to steal, he knows that you might not just stand back if someone's coming to steal, right? If someone's coming to steal, you're gonna stop him. If you stop him, he's gonna want to fight you, so you're right to kill him, right? unless it's your father, father will never kill a son. So, but that if he's coming in, if he's stealing from his son, but that's the simple meaning of the pasuk. Murder was done not as a result of preventing of safety because someone was burglarizing your house. It wasn't the machteret. It was, and that's what the Navi is criticizing the people. But the Gemara is saying it's also alluding to the problem was they made their houses like an area that's not fit for doorposts, and it had doorposts, but they treated it like a place that's not obligated in mezuzah. So the Gemara says, Amar Reish Lakish, after we've been talking about all the negativities that will come to people not keeping the mitzvah of tzitzit, but now the Gemara says, someone who's careful in the mitzvah of tzitzit, zocher merit, listen to this one. Unbelievable. You will get 2,800 slaves, servants. That means in the time of Mashiach, the reward for keeping the mitzvah of tzitzit is 2,800. It's interesting. The language of the Gemara is kol hazair, someone who is careful, and I think we quoted the Shulchan Aruch, also that language of zahir. No, it says tov and nachom. Yeah, liat adam zahir, be careful. So maybe it's connected to this Gemara, that it says that if you're careful in the mitzvah of tzitzit, you'll merit in the future 2,800 avodim. Shenema, as the pasuk says, Kol Hashem tzvokot. Hashem, this is what Hashem says. What's going to happen when Mashiach's time comes? It's going to happen that all the nations of the world are going to start believing in God. And when they're going to see a Jew, they're going to go, the pasuk seems to be saying, they'll see a Jew, they'll come over to the Jew, they'll hold on to the Jew's garment, and they'll say, Simon, teach me, tell me about God. That's what the Goyim are going to come over to Simon, come over to all of us. They'll see a Jew, they'll hold on to you, they'll hold on, say, please, teach me about God, teach me Emunah. That's what they're going to say. Because God is with you. They're going to see that God is with the Jewish people, and therefore they're going to come over to Morris and say, Morris, teach me about God, teach me about Emunah. Right, Nathan? That's what they're going to do. Kol Hashem. Bayom Mehema, those days, Asher Yarziku, Asara Anashim Mikol Leshonot HaGoyim. 10 people from all the nations of the world. Now, we have how many nations? There are 70 nations, right? There are 70 nations. Now we're turning the page now. Turning to page 232b3. So those 10 nations, there are the 70 nations, and 70 people from each of, so 10 from each of the 70 nations are going to hold on to the corner, which means to say, the Gemara is, and what are they going to say? V'chziku b'knaf ish Yehudi. They're going to hold on to the corner of a Jewish garment, leimar, to say, nilchai machem. We want to go with you. We want to be on your team. We want to be with you. Ki shamanu, we heard Elokim machem. God is with you. It reminds me of a story. Someone I know a little bit, got substituted in the Fifth Avenue Synagogue. And there was a man there who has a relative who does deals with President Trump. And Trump, this is before Trump became president. So I substituted for the class, it's talking about 12 years ago, whatever it was, before his first presidency. And this guy in the shul in the Fifth Avenue Synagogue would meet Trump in the elevator, going up and down. Trump lived in the Trump Towers. And Trump said to this guy, God is on your brother-in-law's side. that he was able to see, Trump was able to see, and his brother was a very religious man, was able to see the hand of God. God is with your brother-in-law. So here they're going to say this. That's exactly the language that the nations of the world are going to say in the future. We want to go. We want to go with you because God is with you. And the Gemara is interpreting. So that seems to be the what the Gemara now the simple meaning of the pasuk is that so many people, it will be those days 10 people from all the 70 nations, which maybe would literally mean right. But what does the simple meaning of the pasuk sound like? The simple meaning sounds like there's going to be 700 people 10 people from all the nations. If it's 10, if it's 10 from 70 nations, if it's 10 times 70, it's 700. But literally, you can't have 700 people holding onto someone's corner, someone's garment. Right. But so therefore the Gemara is saying, instead of taking it literally that all these people are going to hold on to the person's garment, rather not they're going to hold on to the person's garment, but because good morning, Levi, because of the person's garment, they're going to the holding on to the kanaf means because we kept the mitzvah al kanfei bigdehem, right? The doratam. V'nosnu davar meismat hakanaf al tzitzit hakanaf, because of the corner, because of the mitzvah of tzitzit that we kept, because of that, that's why they're going to hold on to they're going to serve us. They're going to go ahead, the merit, that the mitzvah of tzitzit that a Jew kept with the corner of his garment, they're going to go ahead, there's going to be 10 people from each of the 10 people from each of the 70 nations are going to want to serve him. And therefore, and since there are 70 nations in the world besides the Jewish people, so it comes out there's going to be 70 times 10, 700 people for this corner, for this corner of the tzitzit that you had, 700 for that corner, 700 for that corner. There's 4 corners, so the 700 for each corner. And as Nathan did the math, so 700 times 4 is 2,800 people are going to want to serve us for this mitzvah. Now, I don't know what are you going to do with 2,800 people? Maybe they want to serve us. Right, could be. And 2,800 people is a lot of people to have for that, just for the mitzvah of tzitzit. You can imagine other mitzvahs also what you're going to get. We'd have to find it. But I want to say, why is this the reward for the mitzvah of tzitzit? Why is the reward for the mitzvah of tzitzit having these servants? Right? Specifically, the Gemara says that there's going to be the way they want to translate over here.
It's also 713 mitzvot, so maybe the reward for all of the Torah is having all of your needs taken care of, and you might need 2,100 people to take care of all of your needs.
Okay, you could say that. I want to suggest something a little different. I want to say the commentaries explain. Some explain the mitzvah of tzitzit. What is the reason behind the mitzvah of tzitzit? So some explain tzitzit is a sign of avdut. It's a sign that this is my tag. People I work for Goldman and Sachs, right? I work for whatever uniform. This is my tag to say it's my identity. To identify myself as I am a servant of Hashem. That's what the tzitzit is, a sign of the, like you said, I have the mitzvot. I can't. Right. And I'm saying the tzitzit, which represents a 613 morning, like the 613 mitzvot, I am making a statement that this is my job. I am a servant to do, this is my responsibility. I am here to serve God, to do the complete the 613 mitzvot. So when you go ahead and you excel in your service of God, right? So Hashem says, I'm going to give you servants. And look how much I'm going to give you. I'm going to give you 2,800 servants. You're acting as you're one servant. But Hashem, the way Hashem rewards for you acting as a servant, right? You're going to get so many servants as a result of that. Midah keneged midah. And therefore, after you learn this Gemara, when you see the reward is so great for keeping the mitzvah of tzitzit, so if I go ahead and I bring myself in the midst of tzitzit, right? I brought myself into the midst of tzitzit. Let's say I didn't have to wear the tzitzit the whole day because I wasn't wearing a full corner garment. But I went ahead and I was careful in the midst of tzitzit because I did it the mitzvah the whole day. This is a way everybody could get this unbelievable reward of 2,800 servants. So that is something to think about, the great rewards. Right. You could also, I think you have a right to say that as well. And also, it just shows you how much Hashem wants to give reward. You know, when we learn the Torah, and we hear about all the punishments for different verot, and we learned our Gemara when we talk about the severe punishments for not learning Torah, not keeping mezuzah, not keeping tzitzit. But then when you see the great reward for the mitzvot, so people should realize Hashem is looking to pay. The reward is much greater than the punishment. So people have no idea of the reward that they get for doing the mitzvah, for standing up for your parents, for getting them a drink, for talking, they're talking properly, whatever, with every mitzvah that you're careful how you speak, right? And you control yourself, you control your anger. A lot of people have anger issues. They control themselves, the Vilna Gaon, will end with this. The Vilna Gaon says the reward that a person gets for closing their mouth and not saying an insult when a person, that's unbelievable. And that's like Nathan was saying, that's a harder thing to do than put on a pair of tzitzit. Harder thing when someone says something to you, or you to get angry and to control oneself. The reward is so much greater. So I want to wish everyone a beautiful day. We'll be back tomorrow. Fascinating Gemara, right, Ralph? Ralph comes in. All the Gemaras are fascinating.
Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you, Rabbi. Have a great day.
Welcome back, everybody. Take care, Ronnie, Asaf, everybody. All have a great day. Thank you. Welcome back. We missed you.
Thank you. Sorry.
No problem. We take attendance. Oh, afterwards? I mean, how does it work? It's posted? How do you, what? Must have the copy of the clip. Wow.
Yeah.
That's great.
I got caught up.
Thank you. Beautiful. Thank you so much. Great.
Rabbi,
Bye-bye.
it took me a little while to get on, so I got it.
No
Mashiach
problem.
has to come sooner than later. So I
Right?
can tell you.
We need it badly, right, Ralph?
Yeah, absolutely.
Everybody's realizing it already, correct?
All right.
People are not as comfortable as they once were in New York or in the world.
I know. It's really getting crazy.
Right. Everyone should be safe. Okay. Have a great day.
You too.